Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, mountain back to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pocondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of Tough Talking Thursday on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jai, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Today is the second day of the National Election Commission, NEC, announcing provisional results. We now have 85%, or make it 86% of the results are in, and it says Joseph Newman Boakai, the former vice president, is slightly in the lead, leading the incumbent president, George Manneh Weah. Today, we also have the ECOWAP observation team making a brief statement, as well as the European observation team. We're going to look at all these and the future of the country when it comes to democracy, when it comes to our economy, in case Joseph Newman Boakai becomes president or George Weah is maintained. What kind of government do we expect? How do we expect the power play in the House of Representatives and the Senate? All this, we're going to talk about it right here on Tough Talking Thursday. Joining me is Dr. Abdoulaye Doucouré. He's a professor, journalist, and diplomat. Dr. Du, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleased to be here. Let's do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me also welcome our governance advisor, the man who talk governance issues. He eats, sleep, and drink these things. And he sometimes makes some money out of talking about these things. Mr. Ahmed K. Salif, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. Always a pleasure. Let's get at it.
Thank you. Let me also welcome Mr. Mohammed Sharif, our political analyst. Mr. Sharif is a product of Waplo Institute all the way in Kalipo, Kanwike. Mr. Sharif, welcome.
Dennis, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Let me also welcome Mr. Jimmy Eastman. He's an FOL analyst. He also co-hosts the FOL Marketplace. Mr. Jimmy Eastman, welcome to the show.
Hey, Dennis, as usual, it's an honor and privilege to be here with these fine gentlemen. Gentlemen, hello, and looking forward to a very educational conversation.
And wherever there is politics, you have the political bulldog, Mr. Anthony Sie. I don't feel really comfortable doing any political show without the political bulldog. Mr. Anthony Sie eats, sleep, and drink politics. Mr. Sie, welcome.
Dennis, thank you. It's good to be here. It's the political time. I'd rather be here to talk some. Let's do it.
I want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. If you have not done so already, please share the show, invite a friend, and listen to one of the best you can find in our community. It's Tough Talking Thursday, and there is no room for Tabata. Let me start by saying we have the provisional results announced by NEC, and I'll put that on the screen. It tells me that we have received 86.71%, and of that, we have Joseph Newman Boakai with 712,741 votes, representing 50.58%. We have George Mane Weah with 696,520 votes, representing 49.42%. Total valid votes, 1401.4 million, and we have the invalid 22,000 plus. That's the official announcement from the National Election Commission. That does not stop the Unity Party War Room from putting out its own numbers. And I want to also say that we up to press time, we got no numbers from the CDC War Room. From the Unity Party War Room, they say they have 100% complete, with Joseph Newman Boakai winning at 51% and George Mane Weah at 49%. That's how it stands today. And we're going to go off of the NEC result that's official. Let's start. And today, a lot of things happen. So before we even go ahead, I just want to get your general. When I was kind of a little surprised that ECOWAS was making statement, EU was making statement. Later, when I listened, I realized, oh, they are observers, so they are actually commenting on what they have seen so far. So generally, Dr. Dukley, what you make of the happenings of today regarding the runoff election results, the statements from those observation missions, and the reaction from voters and the citizens?
Who are you asking?
Dr. Dukley.
I think there is a sort of pre-victory jubilation, a perception that some people really think that where we are at, there's no way that CDC can catch up or win these elections, and therefore there's a sense of victory for some people. And I didn't listen to the statement by observers. I don't really know. I don't want to talk about it because I don't really pay attention. I did pay attention to Liberian people's reaction to it, and there's a media war going on. Everybody's trying to pull the blanket to themselves, but the numbers don't lie. And I think if we go by the numbers, I think Boakai is in the lead to be in a good place. But if he were to lose the elections to George Weah, I think Weah will have difficulty governing. We don't want him to be president any longer.
Thank you. Mr. Sharif.
That's my observation of the today things.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Dukley. Mr. Sharif, generally, your general feeling, observation about today, everything that went down. And later we're going to go deep into each one of them. I just want to get your feeling.
Exuberant, as predicted. This is a very close contest, but the Unity Party poses out, and so that's what it shouldn't to be. So we're talking, in the neighborhood of, between 10,000 to 20,000 vote difference. This is what it's going to come down to when it's all said and done. As you saw, the NEC tally. And the Unity Party tally. The CDC, the NEC tallies is somewhere around 16,000. So which is still within the 1 to 2 percentage point margin. And so I'm very confident that come tomorrow morning, you will hear all these official results, and it will really confirm what I have believed in the lead up to the election.
Thank you. Jimmy, with 86% announced by NEC, I'm expecting tomorrow we can get all this will be in.
Yeah, it looks like it's all winding down now. It is indicating of Buakai victory. And I'd like to repeat what we've been saying here. This has always been a referendum on the performance of the CDC government. And right now, the way there's global recession, it exacerbates the situation in each individual developing country. So there was a lot of effort needs to go in to getting your people where they need, and that has to be paramount to everything else that is important. And if the people don't conceive that you have been working enough in their interests, and that is when you see they tend to look for other alternatives. So it's about clear as for me. It's clear as day that we're going to see a change in leadership in the coming days. It will be a first time in Liberia again. Liberia is always the first. We had the first female president, and if this should happen, it would be the first time an incumbent losing an election and peacefully turning it over. Gambia, there was a problem after us, but if it should happen in Liberia, it would be another first, another historic event.
Thank you. And Mr. Salif, I know Unity Party folks are rejoicing, but there are still votes in the Southeast to be counted. And where President Weah is he was expected to be at maybe 72, but he's around 80. So he's kind of making up when it comes to the Southeast. But first, let me get your reaction to everything that went down today. If you can unmute, sir.
Apologies. No, I'm saying there seems to be jubilation, but the country is also quiet. In a way, I spoke to someone today who said to me, people are weary. It's not because they don't know where the numbers are going. They know where the numbers are going. Change is imminent. It looks like most of the Southeast has reported. If we look at preliminary results, at least on official results that we've seen, NEC hasn't announced most of the Southeast. I think Grand Cru today at the press conference was mentioned as an area that they still are yet to report. But I would say most of the numbers from the Southeast are actually known now, Dennis. So that is not a big area that I'm looking out for. But for general atmosphere and general mood of the people in the country, of course, it's on social media. People are sort of antsy. They're asking questions. So when is it? When is it? We need to know who is it, so that we can have this behind us, and then start focusing on asking questions about, okay, what kind of transition are we having? Peaceful transition. Yes. Okay. What kind of government will whoever wins will form? And I like to agree that whoever wins, even if it's Ambassador Buakai, Dr. Dukle, he will have challenges. He will have, let's say, a task ahead of him to unify the country. Because it's what leaders do. I mean, it's not about party anymore. It's not about who supported whom. It's about Liberia. If something happens and it turns out to be a re-election, I think here that task will even be more challenging. And any such transition, I'm afraid, will be rough before we experience calm. And so I'm really watching for the next critical days, tomorrow and Saturday, onto Monday. Those are very critical days for our country, which you just keep talking to folks. It's about Liberia. There will be another day after the election. 2017, 2018, January happened, right? Inauguration, here we are. And so it's about a country. It's about a thing that's larger than all of us. That's kind of where I'm really focusing now to see what kind of transition is happening. Who will be invited to serve the country and why? Will they reflect the will of the people? Will they reflect the diversity that we have in our country? And what we all know the challenges they'll have ahead of them. Are they up to their task, and how do we begin to monitor and hold them to account?
Thank you. Mr. Sear, I know you look at these numbers very closely. I want you to lay something out for us here, because one thing I saw is we are at 86% when it comes to net, but the Unity Party train is moving, right? Led by my colleague Amra Connor, they've reported 100%. And so I've not been keen to these numbers to see whether they all agree or not. So I want you to you sleep on these things. That's why you eat, drink, and sleep. Tell me about the numbers that you've been looking at.
Dennis, thank you. And you are right. The Unity Party War Room has done tremendous amount of work on their numbers. They completed 100% of the entire tally. And as you reported earlier, they projected Joseph Yimambwaka to be the winner, but they maintain that their results are not the official results. But they also emphasize that they don't think there will be any significant difference between what they're reporting and what the NEC is reporting. Their presenter, Amara Conan, was clear that their numbers and the numbers from NEC are consistent so far, especially with the counties that the NEC has completed. For example, Bombing County, NEC completed Bombing County 100% reported, and the winner netted 23,000 votes. It is the same exact 23,000 votes the Unity Party War Room is reporting for Joseph Yimambwaka. Margibi County, NEC completed Margibi County. The Unity Party won 64,000 votes, and the Unity Party War Room also came up with the exact 64,000 votes. Baum County is another county the Unity Party was able to complete, as well as the National Election Commission. They both ended with 72,000 for the CDC, and the CDC won Baum County with 72,000 votes. So the NEC numbers and the numbers from the Unity Party War Room exactly the same. Lofa County also is another county the NEC completed, and the Unity Party War Room also completed, and they came up with the same exact number for the Unity Party, 75,000 votes. That's what the Unity Party won with, constituting, I think, 65%. So you see some level of, believing that, their numbers are consistent with what the NEC is also reporting. So I wanted to use a big word there, but I pulled it back. And so
Don't go Satya on us, please.
I wanted to go Satya there. So yes, just to be a little more comprehensive, the National Election Commission has tallied 86% of the vote, and of that number, or that percentage, the Unity Party, Joseph Yimambwaka got 712,000 votes, which is 50.58%, followed by Joshua of the CDC with 187,000, constituting 49.29%. Now, yesterday, when they reported, the margin between the two was actually 5,426 votes. Today, the NEC reported at the 86%. The Unity Party was able to increase its margin from 5,000 votes to 16,000 votes. Now, and the total polling places completed by the NEC so far is 5,107,000 of the total of 5,890. So what is left is actually about 15%. And know this, on the first day of counting, the NEC was able to tally 22.33%. Day two, they were able to tally up to 86%. So if they won, they could tally more than 15% that is left. One can assume that they should be able to complete the job tomorrow. The fact that they might have brought all the materials to Monrovia. So there should be no reason the NEC should want to delay the result further. They should be able to complete the result tomorrow. So yes, Dennis, as I look at the Unity Party war room numbers and the NEC numbers, you see that they are in par. That reason to believe, especially the 4 counties the NEC completed and they completed, the numbers are the same. So I think there's reason to believe what they are reporting. But again, the NEC is the official authority to announce the final results of the election.
Let me mention Mr. C.A. Bapulu, which was not called by NEC because they said at the time they were reporting he had just arrived.
Right.
That county has been called by the Unity Party war room. So
exactly.
That's another thing we can look at.
Yeah, the Unity Party called Bapulu and they gave Bapulu to Joseph Yaman Boaka. And another thing I want to mention, according to the Unity Party numbers, Joseph Yaman Boaka won 8 counties and George Weah of the CDC won 7 counties. According to them, the 8 counties the Unity Party won: Grand Cayman County, Bapulu, Lofa, Mangibi, Monserrato, Nimba, and Bombing. Whereas the CDC won Grand Crew County, Grand Jida, Maryland, River G, River Cess, Sino, and Bond. Another important information I want to share here then is concerning the numbers. As I look at all the data, I see that Joseph Yaman Boaka increased his numbers in the Southeast, all across the Southeast counties. However, George Weah won the Southeastern counties, he won with about 73%, some 80%, some are 85%, some are 83%. And actually, Salif said earlier they didn't get number from Grand Crew County. They got some numbers from Grand Crew County, and in fact, I can log here and tell you, NEC has reported 74% of Grand Crew County, and President Weah is winning there by 89%. So what I'm trying to say, the percentages that Joshua is winning with in the Southeast has increased significantly. All right, the percentages have increased significantly, but the numbers or the votes are less compared to the counties that Joseph Boaka winning. The numbers are more, and that is why Boaka maintains a slight lead over Joseph Boaka. And I want to emphasize that Boaka increased his lead from yesterday from 5,000 to 16,000.
Thank you, Jimmy. What are you learning from these numbers?
What are those 13% coming from?
Say that again, Dr. Du.
The 13% that are left, where are they coming from?
The remaining
where are the 13%? The remaining 13%, where are they?
Good.
Oh, they spread across. Yeah, they spread across the 11 counties that are yet to be completed by the National Election Commission. On the Unity Party side, there's nothing left based on their calculation. They have completed everything. It is the NEC that is left with about 15%. And if you ask what is left, where can we find it? We can find it within the 11 counties that are yet to be completed by the National Election Commission.
And one of those 11 counties is Bapulu. Yeah. And according to what the Unity Party War Room reported, Boaka is Bapulu.
Yeah, and if you want the specific counties, I will tell you Nimba is one of them. Bapulu is one of them. Those are the counties that are yet to be completed. Actually, I can go in and name them, but because of time, I told you Bomi, Magibi, Bom, and Lufa are completed. The rest of the 11 counties, those are the ones that have the total of about 15% or less.
Right. So Jimmy, going into the elections, we have all kinds of theories, right? Based on what we have so far, how far or close are we with what we came up with? Okay, we're expecting Josh, we are to win counties in the southeast. What else do you see from those numbers?
Well, when you look, just like we said, we knew he would have dominated the southeast, and he did pretty well when you look at the percentages. But just like Anthony was outlining, there was not as much turnout this time. So even though he getting higher percentages, there are fewer numbers in totality. What we're also looking at from the numbers that the huge counties, the rare vote written counties like Nimba, Lofa, Grand Bassa, Montserrado, this is where bear all the weight. So it rescores the fact that these are the most important areas to win if you want to win the national election. Been proven again that this is where the votes are. And what we also learned that too, that the country is very kind of split, almost right down the middle. Because when we're looking at 50 some more percent, 50 point something to 49, you can see that's an even split. So like we were talking about, governing will be something interesting, because now that we have a split decision, everybody will be watching. Whoever comes out victor, they will be carefully watched by the other team. And if they don't come up with good strategies, they will be seriously criticized. So it's going to be it's over for now, but the race really begins after inauguration.
And 8 counties to 7 counties and 50 to 49. That's indeed something to watch. Mr. Salif, you let's talk about governing a little bit, because the way the elections split, no matter who wins, right? You have the southeastern counties where, let us not forget that President Weah has many of his officials from. And we saw that there was almost nothing done there besides having them, people being appointed from there. Now you have a situation where you say, well, this is where my vote came from. I mean, this person didn't vote for me. How do we expect this thing to play out when it comes to governing? Also, if we look at the House of Representatives and the Senate, things also split in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the legislature is a different question. The question about governing based on who voted for you, who didn't vote for you, I think it's a non-issue for any responsible leader. A responsible leader who has been elected after an election, they strive to unite the country. They're not going to rule and govern based on region, based on this county voted for me, I got the highest vote from this county or not. I mean, we seen allegations of criticism of the President Weah administration. It was really about these kinds of misgoverning, misrule, misunderstanding of governance, where a lot of cabinet officials, a lot of people in high-profile positions, are concentrated in one region. In fact, the same region where the president is said to have come from. That is not that doesn't bode well for a country like Liberia. We're a very diverse society. And what Ambassador Parker has been promising, at least in his going by his campaign speeches and promises, that if he has the opportunity to lead, his will be an inclusive government. His will be Liberians of all walks of life from all over all regions, all faith traditions, all of the trappings of our diversity. And so when technicians and policymakers and leaders are sitting in boardrooms, in conference rooms, in their offices, planning and plotting, doing assessments, trying to understand the challenges they have at hand, plotting a sort of governance strategy, development strategy and policy, a legislative agenda, they don't typically go by where did I get my most votes from. Of course, these are politicians. If somebody there is going for re-election, looking up for the future, yeah, you will highlight, and recognize people who supported you. You recognize regions that supported you, but you also want to be a responsible and ethical leader who says that this is one country. I sought to be a leader for all Liberians, and that's what I am, and that's what I'm going to be. So that's what I expect to see. I expect to see that first off the back. If we don't see any indication that this is a truly a national unity government of some sort, a government of diverse orientation of Liberians of all sorts from all regions, and then we'll begin to watch for how are they going to govern, what kind of policy options would they deploy, and where and why.
Thank you. And it's easily said than done. We saw even during President Salif, many things were concentrated around Nimba, Bong, Basa, because politicians think far ahead for votes, right? So if I did this, I'm going to get vote from this area. It is clear now that you can win Lofa, Nimba, Bong, Magibi, and win an election, and you don't even have to win in the southeast. And we saw that in the campaigning of former Vice President Joseph Nima Bwaka. Like, hey, we don't even have to do anything in the southeast. Nimba alone can swallow the southeast. We've also seen Prince Johnson, his influence in Nimba County, and when Prince Johnson is behind you, all he wants is for Nimba County to benefit. So it's going to be a tough one, anybody governing, and people are going to keep scores of these things. Mr. Sharif, let's speak to that.
Yeah, so what you're going to have now with the conclusion of this election, Joseph Boakai winning tomorrow, effective 4 p.m. tomorrow, you're going to have the political renegades, the grasshoppers who fled, who are in between the Unity Party and CDC and this and that and the other. They are going to start lobbying. The Eugene Nagwis of this world are going to start lobbying again. Papa, I want to come back home. I apologize, all of these things. So you're going to look out for these people. They are Henry Pedro Costas of the world. They're going to come back home. You're going to have these renegades, looking for job. I'm not saying that Costa is a job seeker, but I do know that Eugene Nagwe is a job seeker. He has no principles whatsoever. He was in the NPP. He jumped over to the Unity Party, and then the CDC. The Unity Party brought him here, fed him and all and whatnot. He jumped over to the Unity Party, and now back to CDC. So you're going to have people like that, what Brother Ahmed said is correct. Winning is one thing, governing is another. When you're governing for the people of Liberia. You're governing the entire country. That's why I didn't like some of the rhetorics about, Southeasterners did this, Southeasterners did that, and the other. You have to be able to speak about George Weah's incompetence while at the same time respecting the people of the Southeast, because you're going to need them one day. You never know. So you don't want to burn that bridge. So I will hope that with Boakai coming in, someone, who is level-headed, I will hope that his administration will reconcile this very divided country now, because this country is very divided. This is a very close election. And one of the things that I'm looking for now, besides appeasing the people of the Southeast, is to give this president, at least for now, an exit, an honorable exit, so that he's leaving the scene even though there are all kinds of different issues that need, issues that need to come up, maybe auditing and whatnot, but you don't want to bring those up now. So you want to give him some time to recuperate, because losses like this is very, very difficult. It's interesting, Dennis. A few years ago, we were talking about George Weah, the things that he needed to do, but these guys weren't watching these shows. So now, tonight, we're sitting here talking about George Weah's political obituary. It is amazing. This is amazing. These guys and the new administration should listen to us. The new administration should watch this, because we're still here. We're going to criticize them.
Are you jumping the gun? You're jumping the gun. It's not over yet.
No, listen, I have been very consistent in saying that, Mr. Boakai is going to, the Unity Party Coalition is going to pull this out with a small margin. So with 85% now, according to NEC, or 86% according to NEC, where is George Weah going to find any votes now? Where is he going to find anything else now? He cannot find a vote in Grand Crew. He can't find another set of vote to make this up in Sano County. Meanwhile, the Unity Party has a pile of votes still coming out of Nimba County. They have votes that will be coming out of Bapulu County. Their situation room has already told us that they have their number. They've crunched their numbers. And, I have to believe them, because the guy who is manning that situation room is no stranger to us. He's Amara Corner. This guy is very serious. He meant business. He's not going to stand out there, to spew something that he doesn't know anything about. He has run elections, so he has an incredible resume when it comes to managing numbers and elections and so on and so forth. So I will believe him. We're giving NEC an opportunity to come out tomorrow and announce the results. So this thing is over, Dennis. It is over. And so right now, if I'm the president of the Republic of Liberia, I will start to, make some phone to start to draft my exit message. Start to make some phone calls. Make some phone calls to your ministers and directors. And tell them, you've had 6 years. We didn't get it done, and so we're out of here. So tomorrow morning, or after the results are announced, he needs to call Joseph Boakai to congratulate him and move on. And it's over.
Thank you, Mr. Sia. Whoever is going to win, that person does not have like 49% are saying no, we don't want you, right? So that's a big chunk of people that didn't vote for you. The margin is very close, so you will have that, right? Besides that, both Mr. Salif and Mr. Sharif are hoping that Mr. Boakai, if he's the winner, will be able to reconcile. Does Boakai have that history?
Well, then maybe he does, except that it's not to my knowledge. Maybe there are people on this panel or people listening to us who are aware. And again, I'm not saying he does not have it. I just don't know. I don't think I have followed as much as some people may have followed him to know him to have a history of being a reconciler. If he were, one might think that he would have done so in the CPP. If he were, one might think that he would have done a better job in the Unity Party. After Ellen left power, when he contested the trouble that came into the party that led to the likes of Amara and Gafwan staying away for years, and maybe like they saw an opportunity now they have come over. I mean, it was like these people are just coming over. I know folks in the Unity Party. Some of them, I'm very close to them. They complain to me. So I will only say what they said to me, that this man, he does not have a history of reconciling people. He does not have it, and that is what I know. And I'm talking about people who came so close to him. And some of these things, we have seen them in the political sphere, how he has conducted himself with people he went into political deals with, right? Breaches he's been able to burn, right? And so I don't see that history, and someone can try to convince me here because I have not been around so much, and so maybe he does, but I have not seen that in recent time. I know a reconciler when I see one. I don't see that with Joseph Walker. Be that as it may, Joseph Walker is a leader in our country. We can dismiss him. We can see him to not have the leadership gravitas that we want, a transformative leader should have. He doesn't have it. I can say that without any hesitation. I know a leader when I see one, but not everyone is a leader the way I'll see a leader. Some people are just leaders, they're just there, and other people do the work. I think that's the kind of leader he is. But going back to the election, though, Dennis, Joseph Walker just sat there, and the Liberian people came his way. Now, the NEC is the institution that will tell us who wins this thing. The way it looks, he performed extremely well. Remember, in 2017, George Weah won 14 of the 15 counties. Joseph Walker managed to take it from him in just less than 6 years. That is monumental if you look at it. And so Liberian people have come around, and this is more to George Weah doing, the blunders, the unseriousness, the joke that he became as a president of the Republic of Liberia. He became a musician. He started dancing. This man was given the greatest opportunity of his lifetime, something the likes of Bako Matthew, Tipo Ted, great Liberians fought for. They never came close. The great son of Liberia got this thing on silver platter, and he became a dancer and a musician. He became a joker in our country. So I am even shocked that Joshua is even performing better. Maybe he's more of our people, and that is why he's even doing better. I was looking up, again, it's the opposition that was very weak. They were not united, and that is why it's responsible for that. We wait for National Election Commission tomorrow to announce the numbers, but the way the trend started and continued, I fear that if Joseph Walker is not announced, then there will be a lot of explanation to be done by the National Election Commission. They know numbers. I don't know numbers. I read the numbers on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Dukley, one is the National Election Commission. I mean, I think they should, from what we've seen the Unity Party war room numbers tying, with the NEC numbers. I think they deserve some credit here. Most of the time when we hear, oh, they're incompetent, but I think they've proven themselves to be credible. That's one. Two, we talk about reconciling. Whoever wins, you don't have 49% of the people voting for you. So you have a big job. President Weah has not shown any sign of reconciling and bringing people together. People complain of Southeastern dominance in his government. He never listened to them. He just did exactly that. And Mr. Walker, who, according to Mr. Anthony, and I want to agree, has not shown any history of bringing people together, of reconciling. Sometimes it appears to us that he sits there and things just unravel under his watch. What do we expect for any president, anyone becoming president January 2024?
Is that for me?
It's so funny when you hear people say, no, that's me, Jimmy. You've been talking all night. Hey, my man, sit down. Oh, we can talk now. It's my time. Anyway, I think it's funny that you would say, somebody would sit and say, oh, no, this man is not a reconciler, is not this and that. But yet he has 50% of the population behind him, voting for him. He's not talking, but 50% of the population vote for him. He doesn't reconcile people. He doesn't meet people. He doesn't do this. People have their own leadership style. And as you said, Anthony, you said, okay, he may be sitting down and people come to him. Well, why didn't it come to somebody else? Why didn't it come to Gongolo? Why didn't it come to Alex Cummings or Mr. Brown or etc.? Or George Weah? Why didn't you just go to George Weah? Let George Weah sit in the palace and say, okay, I'm here. So if Walker is sitting home and people are coming to him and conversion toward him, that's a sign of leadership. It's a different sign. He doesn't go call you. You see him and you say, okay, I want to be on your side, and then you follow him. Or you don't. Maybe it sounds messianistic, but to say that he doesn't have, he got people behind all, people who never talk to each other, people who have never spoken to each other, who are now following him, working with him, providing their services. That, people who raise, I don't know, $10, $20, people sending $10 Liberian to his campaign. Leadership is not about, there's nothing, no prescription for leadership. Every moment, every time in society calls for its own kind of leadership. And probably Buckeye appeals to Liberians that way. With Joshua, with all his singing about success, successful this and that, he should have been re-elected by now with no problem. But having said that, though, what are you talking about the war rooms and the two war? Amara this is not the first time Amara is doing this. Amara started this 2005 with polling and all of these things, and gave us numbers that never were, were like 100% correct. He did it in 2011. He did it in 2017. 2017, okay, he said it. He did it with CDC. But now he's doing for UP, and I think they say they have the same tally sheet from all the electoral centers as the NEC. So it's hard to change that. So I think everybody's doing a good job. NEC has been, I think they're doing a great job. They stay calm, they didn't panic, and they didn't get off their wheels. And I think they did a very good job. According to 50%, 50%. In the US, you get elected 50%, 54%. That's the same thing here, left and right. But the president comes in, and then you choose the best people you can, if you can do that. But really, we should think about governance at the level of the House and the Senate, with people who make decisions on behalf of the people at that level. How can we push them to say, okay, can we have a new type of legislature that can really create laws, take the government feet to the fire, and then work with us, represent really the people, not just accepting, brown envelopes and then passing laws and then not even reading it. I know that because one time I asked somebody, I said, have you guys read this thing? They said, Doc, and that you dropped? I said, it's a concession agreement. I said, Doc, we don't read these things. You guys, we read the executive summary. This is a real thing. Happened. I said, you don't read it. I said, Doc, I have time to read this kind of thing. That you job. Then you guys read and tell us what to do, and then we sign and get and go on. And of course, they get money. So I think governance at that level, stop focusing so much on the presidency, but governance at that level, that you take the big brains, the big people from left, right, and etc., and put a national government together like Ellen Johnson Sirleaf did. Something that we could not do. I think sometimes people just want a face, a representation, and be counted and say, yes, we are from this little village in Sino, we have our son, he or she is part of this thing, and then we're part of it. So people know what they're part of. So we have to be part of it, not just one person. Liberia has a history that has been, it's divided. So it was Congo country, it was Mandingo, Native, or Christian, Muslim, non-Muslim, all of that. We have all kind of division, but still held together as a nation.
So Dr. Dukley,
and I think that's big. Nobody wants to break away from Liberia.
No, nobody. Dr. Dukley, if your yardstick is because people are coming to Buckeye because he got 50%, if that's the standard, then we say George Weah, he had more than that, right? So if that's the litmus test of a good leader, or because his strategy is working, then we can say the same thing about Weah. That's one. Number two, you give example of the United States where people win 50% or 51%, and they hire the best around them. They put a team together. Does Buckeye has the ability to do that? So those are the two questions I want you to speak to. You know him.
Well, if you want me to, the first one, I forgot the first one, but the second one is what does Buckeye have the capacity to?
You set a standard that
Yeah, but the
people are
50%.
and he won 50%.
No,
So
no,
he's good leader.
Yeah, but no, not because he's a good leader, but he has a leadership. He has something that appeals to people at this moment.
Exactly. Just like we are.
Yeah, well, no, we should have won the first round in the first pick. I mean, he's an incumbent. He has the money. He had 6 years to prepare for a second term. So he should not have to go to a second round. If you go to a second round, that close with your opponent, you have lost the elections. So let's not fool ourselves.
I've heard that same thing before.
Dr. Duke, I'm having a understand you. If you don't mind, Dr. Duke. So, George, we are in 2017.
Right.
That's 61% of the vote. Then it's saying if we use your standard, then George Weah is even a better leader than Joseph Walker, right? Because you are saying that, well, he's a leader that why people are just going to him. That is appeal. Politicians and political actors are opportunistic. They see an opportunity on the side, they jump there. I mean, if you look at Mena Costa, the nastiest things he said about JMB, and we'll go there, you think what took him there? He wanted to get power. That's why he went there, right? So you can't use that as a standard because one has an appeal, so that person is a leader. It's like Trump who has an appeal, right? A lot of extremists in America.
No, Anthony. Yeah, but Anthony, I'm sorry to say this. People are attracted to people for leadership for different reasons. It can be somebody like say, okay, we know this man is not going to blow up the country next day. Like Joe Biden. We voted for Biden. We say, okay, we're not going to wake up one day and say, oh, he blew up this island. And sometimes we want somebody who say, okay, don't give a damn about the rest of the world. That's what we did in 2016. Trump. I don't give a damn about anybody. I'll kick the butt anywhere I can kick it. But then we say, no, it's wrong. So Liberia is the same thing. And I always say that in this platform, I say, I trust Liberian voters. I've never seen them make a mistake. From 1997, 2005, 2017, and now they're not making a mistake. If you are an incumbent and you're fighting to survive with 1 or 2 points, you have lost the elections. You have lost your mandate. It does not apply to the opponent. It applies to you as an incumbent. So
But you are saying that Ishmael won the first round of the election. So Ellen did not win the first round of the election in 2011. So it's the same way we are here.
Yeah, but we're not talking about Ellen. We're not talking about Ellen. We're talking about George Weah and Walker case. Now, today. I don't want to go back to old things. George Weah came close to winning.
But Doc, Ellen she was an incumbent, and she did not win it straight out in the first round. So does that all? If what you're saying, the logic, if we apply that same logic you use to today, then Ellen should have lost this in the second round because she clearly didn't win.
She could have lost the second round. She could have lost the second round, but she didn't. Yeah, I accept that. She did not win the second. She did not, and we had to go to a second round. And because of that, and if I would say CDC had worked out that, that link they were trying to do with LP at the time, if that had worked, Bromskin and we're together, yes, Ellen would have lost the first round, definitely. But it didn't happen. Something worked in her favor, and then she won the elections. But she was not as strong as she was probably 2005 and 2006.
Yeah, Mr. Saliba, I want you to speak to that. Do you agree with Dr. Dukley? I don't think that standard is. If we use that, then Weah is also a good leader.
Oh, what I'm hearing Dr. Dukley describe is types of leadership and leadership characteristics. So there are leaders who are situational leaders. There are leaders who are servant leaders. There are leaders, the different leadership theories, in a way, those who study.
We agree. We agree with that.
Yeah, so I'm coming. So one of the a characteristic, and Anthony, you say appeal. Appeal, it's in itself is leadership. It falls in the charismatic leader category. You don't have to be charismatic to have an appeal. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying leadership has good offices. So, for example, something about this person, the institution they represent, maybe the leader of the Unity Party, is the political leader of that institution, and so on. People look at different leaders in the race and decide that they're going to go with this person, and they come to them. So a leader also who has the ability to at least form an effective team or tolerate an effective team that does the job is exercising leadership. So I don't see Dr. Dugler comparing necessarily that here's the standard. You know, as long as 50% came to you, you are a leader, and therefore applies to alien.
That's exactly what he said. That is exactly what he said.
No, I heard what you said, Anthony, but I'm just extrapolating here because as he was speaking, I'm hearing the words, but I'm listening to the type of leadership I'm hearing. I studied about leadership a little bit, and I'm talking about when you're talking about theories, and even the practicality of how leaders behave. What type of leaders are we looking at? That's what I'm thinking as he's talking. I'm thinking about, all right, is he describing a servant leader, a charismatic leader? So we're used to looking for charismatic leaders. We're used to looking for visionary leaders who, like Amara exercised in this particular event, right? He exercised sort of a situational leadership right there. He was called upon. There was almost kind of crisis, urgent leadership call, and he answered that call situationally, applied technological skill and technical skills, and brought people together. So, to the leaders who sit there, our paramount chiefs, they weren't people who, were around, and so some of them were charismatic, but
Right. I mean,
from my side of the family,
I live with one
some of
them.
the chiefs wore big gowns. People came from all over the place,
Yeah,
to
but
them
Mr. Salif, let me
and
push
send
back
them
on
around, right?
Mr. Salif.
Yeah.
Let's put it in context, right? Because the issue here was with Mr. Bwaka had not been, who was saying having the history of
Reconciling it, yes.
doing right. So, and then Dr. Dugler is saying, hey, people are coming to him, got 50%. That means what he's doing is working. That's why I use the Judge Weah example.
I get it. So I
So
heard this.
not just describing theoretical leaders. We're talking within context.
No. Sometimes I put a thing in a premise and then I bring it to context and I practicalize it here, Dennis. Look, I've heard people say that about Ambassador Barker, and he's not a reconciler, or look at CPP fell
Just
apart,
the
this happened,
history.
that happened. Here's the history, and so people are looking for history, right? But when you talk to people around him, they say, listen, you got to think and look broader. It was a strategy to, like, okay, so we need you to be here. We need this person to be at the head of the ticket. You want to be at the head of ticket. We will do nothing. If you can't stand the heat, you leave. We have a strategy to move forward. That is exercising leadership in and of itself. But from those outside, they're like, well, you're not reconciling the people. CPP fell apart, and then people went to court. He testified against someone. Costa went away, didn't bring Costa, and all of that. But if you look at the Yamble situation, Yamble came back, and there are certain people who will argue that, well, it depends on who you talk to or what kind of reconciliation are you asking, or to what end where reconciliation lead, contribute to this leader's objectives and their goals. If the person who's supposed to be reconciled is not really needed, or they want to contain them, we in the outside will not see any reconciliation happening. It could all be strategists and advisors are telling them what to do, what not to do in a particular context. That's really what I'm trying to describe. That if you look at different leadership styles and theory, right, a situational leader comes in, looks at an issue, assembles a team, and solves that problem. Visionary can look at long term, and then there's a way to go about that. So yes, appeal, reconciliation, some of those can just be attributes of leadership that we're looking for. We're not finding, but then we're saying, oh, well, this is not a leader, because this is the specific thing I'm looking for. I'm not seeing it.
Thank you.
You know, allow me to comment about this
Jimmy.
reconciliation thing.
Hold on, Jimmy. I want Mr. Sharif to speak to this briefly. Then we can move on, right, Mr. Salif, Mr. Sharif. I want you to brief, because there are leaders like Nelson Mandela say, leading from behind. Is that who Mr. Bwaka is? Because I don't see any history of him doing what Mr. Salif is trying to describe here.
Yeah, in the stages of this process, there's no history of where he was able to bring the group that he headed together. So I mean, we have to be honest. The thing about politics is that we're all in our corners. So don't touch my person. Then it becomes an issue, right? But if we've been if we are to speak to this issue, Mr. So for the brief time, the time that he headed, the CPP coalition, the coalition could have stayed together, right? So, I mean, he let the coalition collapse, and also there was a situation with Henry Costa. There were other issues, but the main thing that I'm looking at right now, so I'm looking past all of these things. What I'm looking at right now is that, he needs to reconcile the country. This is 49%. This is a split in the middle. So he needs to reconcile the country. He can't sit back. He can't sit back and say, they're going to come to me. No, President Tubman was, people still talk about President Tubman to this day as someone who was the father of the nation. So he needs to be the father. You go out there to these people. So what if I don't go to you? So you don't come to me? Visit these areas, visit these regions, talk to these people, regardless of whether they voted for you or not. This is what I'm talking about. George Weah did not do that, and he's paying for it now. George Weah was not a reconciler, and election is about the future. Election is about moving forward and bettering our country. So are we going to have another George Weah? That's not what I'm looking forward to.
I'd like to comment really quickly about this reconciliation. To me, reconciliation, right? We're not coming from war. This is not 1990 or 1995. 2005. What is the difference? We're coming from a political election. Were there any ideological differences between the groups that you're talking about you have to reconcile? They simply voted for one, and people talk about cash violence. There are all sorts of reasons that people voted for one and voted the other. What is the challenge here? Is building, he has to first build trust. The people have to trust him so that he can start turning the country around. After building trust, he will need to achieve justice. People have he was looked at as the alternative what they had. People were suffering. People saw their incomes go down. They saw prices rise. People were at wit's end, and they were looking for an alternative. And he just happened to be the most electable, and they threw these words around all the time during the campaign. The most electable at the time, given that he was a household recognized name. But now, the true challenge is for him to achieve justice, because this is what we'll be talking about. We're talking about the death of people and nothing. He has to also create atmosphere for our culture to grow, for economic atmosphere to grow. And once he starts building these, people will coalesce around him again, because he's proven himself in leadership. But just to say, let's have a kumbaya moment. We Liberians, we're not really at each other. It's not after the war. The only difference now between us, we want a job. We want to be able to support our families. So Mr. Buckeye has the challenge, the mean bad man in the room. The 600-pound gorilla is the corruption that is sitting right in the middle that he will have to deal with, that even all his predecessors have not had much success dealing with. Those are the things he's going to have to deal with. So the team he's going to put together, there probably will be some people of good education, good experience, but how are they combating corruption where it is everybody
You and Sharif continue to speak as though the election is done and he's been declared winner. So please use condition. I'm not forcing you to do so. Just to be
okay.
Very clear.
You know, there's a more writing on the wall. And I would tell, I'm going off the record today. There was more writing. When you saw chief officials being sanctioned, that put the administration in the bad books of the U.S. government.
Okay.
It was clear. So he already had a couple of strikes going on. So now when we see this razor thin margin and the slow reporting of the results, everything is telling you that it really, the victor is already known. It's just breaking it to the public little by little. It's already known.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Thursday, and of course, it's Tough Talking Thursday, where there is no room for Tabata. Let's transition to transition. Dr. Douglas, you want to say something?
Yeah, you asked me if Walker can nominate or appoint good people.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's put that under transition, the issues of transition and transitional structures, right? Because whoever wins going to transition. President Weah, if he's meeting, has promised a lot that, hey, I'm going to be different. He's forming coalition with the CPP. Other people are coming around. My people in the Southeast say, well, it's second term. That's the time he's going to build our roads, right? So there's a lot of issues around transitioning. If it is Buckeye, a lot is expected from him. Somebody was telling me, say, well, the current government has already eaten what the money we're supposed to have by 2050. So there's a lot of things going on now. So let's talk transition. Dr. Douglas, I want you to begin. What are some of the transition issues that we can talk about? How, whether it's Buckeye or Weah, what do you see as that structure that needs to be put in place for us to transition the country? Right now, it seems that we're in a bad place.
Well, we don't, as Anthony said, we don't know that elections are not over till the fat lady sings. But then after that, the fat lady is going to sing, and Buckeye is going to be the winner. And then the issue would be then to set up a transitional committee that would be people from Buckeye team and people from Georgia team to sit down and go through all the aspects of governance and turning over the ministries and agencies, what is where, who has what, how much money. I was part of that in 2017. But the day we finished the work, we had people say, we don't care about these things. They threw the papers away. Nobody followed anything. Up to today, we don't know what happened to it. Everything that we work on for 2 months to lead to that process, Weah himself was there almost every day. President Salif was there. We work on these things and put the papers together. The day we finish it, they say, okay, the new president, new government, so we don't care about these things. So they threw it away. But it would have served to lead them into, transition.
Give me an example. For those people who have never been around, give me an example. Just pick one.
No. I'll give you one example. I'll give you one example, very simple. Communication at the president's office. It was 3 years ago, somebody would say, oh, Weah was reading a text, he was fighting with papers. And we say, no, there is a, what do you call that thing that you can read from? There is a teleprompter in a mansion. And people came online and said, no, there's no teleprompter in the mansion. I said, no, you guys don't know. That's because you didn't follow the transition. You didn't follow the transition from the former communication team to the new one. You just went and set up a new communication team that had nothing to do with the old one. So we never told them there was a teleprompter. So they never knew for 5 years. So that's a simple case. What they call the one with the extractive industry. Mr. Nyimpan went in there in the morning and pulled the guy out. And that position was a tenure position. He said, no, the president appointed him. And there was a big hula. The partners, everybody said, no, you're not supposed to do that. The guy had a position. And they pulled him out. And Weah said, yeah, well, I appointed him, man, he got to be there. He stayed there for 2 years. So those things happen. So I can give you another case.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Mr. Salif, you've been around transition.
Yeah, actually, Dr. Douglas knows I was also part of the 2017 transition team. I was on the governance committee, and I was also appointed as head of the team that drafted.
You threw Dr. Duke papers away?
No, I helped Dr. Duke. I helped Dr. Duke develop. Dr. Duke, no, he was on the. So the CDC side invited me to help be on the governance committee. And that governance committee has some very prominent people. I won't start calling names there, but it culminated into a transition drafting team, that a group that wrote the transition document, basically, that President Sirleaf and incoming president, we are signed on the day of inauguration. So the United Nations folks wanted to be the ones to write that. And people like Dr. Ajala Babu and others said, no, we have our own people, you can do that. So they locked us up in a hotel for a whole week, and we drafted our transition paper. But yeah, people didn't respect it after that. A lot of the briefing notes that we drafted as well for the president-elect at that time didn't go anywhere. And I insisted, as a member of the Transition Governance Committee, that we have to ensure that there are turnover notes from all these ministries, agencies, and commission, and that the incoming administration ought to take charge of these turnover notes, analyze them. But people were focusing on how much is in the bank, how much is in the account, and things like that. And so, no, yes, focus on that, but also focus on what kind of projects were they working on? What is the budget like? What are they suggesting? Where the work stops, where work needs to continue? Who are the partners that we need to reach out to? What is the transition note saying? So some ministries were drafting transition notes, some did not, even under the presidential Dr. Duke administration. Some did very well because the incoming folks didn't have that appetite for that kind of systematization. Some of the outgoing guys, our job is finished, so we're not doing anything. And then the worst thing that happened was the incoming government fired all the appointed people, told them that your term is up right after inauguration, turn over to the court officers in charge, like the HR people. Basically, the government shut down. And I remember we went to Yakub. There was a guy who was a UN country team. So because we were the governance committee people, so we had to advise. Yeah, we had to advise the new government that this was a mistake. If you did this, these officers in charge, HR people, have no authority to sign, check. All the ministries basically stop working. You can't pay overhead. You can't run things for the next 2 weeks until you have people in place, until confirmation happen and things like that. So it became very chaotic because the guys weren't listening to us. And then the transition team kind of just whittled away right after inauguration. Before inauguration, we had 6 committees, from transportation, communication, governance, logistics. I mean, things were happening. We were asking each of these committees to give us daily reports, things that they were analyzing and coordinate with their counterparts in the outgoing administration. But as soon as inauguration happened that day, all of these committees ceased to function because they knew people were just looking for appointments, confirmation, and wanting to go to their offices. And that's where the struggle really started with the CDC government.
Thank you. Let me switch here. Let me go to Mr.
It was like a coup. It was like a coup.
Yeah, maybe was it after that transition song? They were singing that song, that transition. You don't have the we are to defeat us. Mr. C, let me switch back to you and talk more election matters.
Yeah, that is talking about election matters. the European Union Observatory mission to Liberia had a press conference, and they said some things that are worth discussing here. For example, they talk about campaign finances, and this was actually a report that they were giving in what was actually a press conference, right? And they talk about campaign finances that the National Election Commission did not actually provide any oversight on campaign finances. The CDC has so much money and outspend the other parties and candidates, and that the campaigns laws of Liberia, campaign finance laws of Liberia were not adhered to, and the National Election Commission sat there and did not provide the necessary oversight. And I think that is something that we need to look into. And still talking about the EU mission, they talk about the CDC, the ruling government, using government buildings and vehicles for campaign activities, Dennis. And I don't think they should have done that. They use government cars, they use government vehicles, they didn't pay for those cars, they didn't pay for those buildings that they use for campaign. And the other political parties or the other candidates who happen to be Liberians as well, and the property that they were in charge or are in charge of belong to the Liberian people. So why couldn't the other party use them? They should not have used them. You know, they should be able to pay for those things as political parties, CDC now, before they can use them. The EU mentioned that. They also talk about press freedom. They say, well, they noticed that there was press freedom, people campaigned, there were people criticizing, but they also realized that the nation or the state-owned media, ELBC, was predominantly used by CDC. The other parties, they almost that they have no chance of going there to use it whatsoever. You know, and another thing that is worthy of discussing here is the ECC, that is the Election Coordinating Committee. They said something that really caught my attention. They talk about the systematic tracking of voters by politicians. They say it is a practice that undermines the principle of fair representation. And that is one of the things that led to the poll voter turnout in the runoff. People are taking citizens from Monserrato County and carrying it as far as Grand Cru when they don't live in Grand Cru, all right? And then there they vote when in fact somebody who is representing them in Negro County is rather they don't vote for the person. So they said that is unfair representation. That is something we actually need to look into. And they have a recommendation. They are even encouraging the National Election Commission to be able to announce the results of the election at least twice a day. They believe that if that is done, you know, it will avoid the disinformation that may lead to chaos. I mean, the National Election should be working 24 hours. They should have 2-3 shifts counting these numbers so that at least maybe by 10 a.m. they can release some numbers, and before 4 a.m. they can release some numbers. When they do that, at least people will know that, yeah, there's transparency and all that. So these are, I think, very important things that are worthy of discussion.
And to add to that, the ECOWAS also mentioned the disturbing incidents in Nimba, Lofa, Bong, Monserrato, and other counties, which where people even lost their lives. ECOWAS was more, you know, they spoke more positively. They had a positive tone, but the European Union really called out many things, and those are some of the issues. And they use, for example, even though they didn't mention it, the use of the executive e-mansion website. Yeah, it was like they were using it for campaign activities.
Exactly. And I think, Dennis, I had a discussion about you. I said, Dennis, is this okay to do? Commissioner Reed, this is the executive mansion. Our executive mansion is the presidency. So the official Facebook page of the executive mansion is still the property of the Liberian government. But the CDC, as a political party, was using the official Facebook page of the executive mansion to campaign.
Right.
This is what they did. And maybe Commissioner Reeve can talk about it. And another thing I want to mention that it echoes or talk about is this premature celebration of the parties that they have won. The EU said that is dangerous and people need to desist from that.
Yeah. So, Anthony, I know you said not to not to announce that, not to be over exuberant that
Yeah.
George Weah has already lost. But let me just give you a historical background. George Weah is going to be the second sitting president to be defeated in Liberian history. The first one was James Spriggs Spain in 1869 when the TWP came into office. E.J. Roy defeated him. The same James Spriggs Spain lost to Anthony W. Gardner in 1877. So poor James Spriggs Spain. George Weah is going to be added to that tomorrow. So I know you said don't go there, right? So I won't
No,
go there.
I'm just saying, maybe we should wait on the National Election Commission. But I mean,
Yeah,
as
I
a
won't go.
citizen, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I have predicted elections before some came through and some did not. So it's allowed. I mean, I was just trying to say that be careful.
Yeah, and a lot of times we look at trends and stuff like that. In '08, I remember, not to digress from this discussion. In '08, I remember making a prediction as to what the electoral college for President Obama at the time, Senator Obama, was going to be, and that of John McCain, and it came through. And people were telling me, "Well, how did you know all of this?" But sometimes you just have to look at the trends and different things, different factors. Ahmed can, better speak to some of these things than I. So, so I have been talking about this for a long time. The CDC has used government resources to do a lot of different things. Look, the vice president, when she campaigned in Bond County, she carried a lot of money with her. The whole time for the 6 years, where were you? Now the vice president is carrying large part of money to Bond County, telling people of Bond County, you have to vote for us because we can't lose this vice presidency. I mean, she made it very tribal, so this is the kind of thing. And then, you remember the pickups, the pickup trucks that were given to the chiefs, some 2 years ago, maybe,
Right.
those were preparations for the campaign. So the CDC has used, government resources. This is the thing that we're talking about. They've used government resources to their advantage. I mean, these are things that you cannot do. This is against the election laws of Liberia, but they don't care about the election law. George Weah does not care about, respecting, the laws on the book. He has abused every law in our law books. And this is the reason why, if you see that, some of us have vociferously criticized him, is because of his, the way that he has not only conducted himself, but he has really not applied, or when he does apply the law, it has to be, something that's favorable to the CDC. I mean, you look, George Weah coming into office, what was the first thing? The first thing on the agenda, you would think it would be some kind of development, but no, he was going after a Supreme Court justice because the Supreme Court justice did something that he didn't like. So his minions, went after him at the acquiescence of George Weah. And they had to remove their Supreme Court justice in the person of Kabina John. So it's a whole host of different things, not just the resources, but it's a whole host of different things that George Weah has done as an incumbent. And this is the reason why, the Unity Party in this manner, winning in this manner, is monumental. Because of all of the resources at the disposal of the CDC, because of everything, the advantage of incumbency, and so to oust an incumbent, in this manner, is monumental.
Dennis, you are muted.
Mr. Sharif, let me bring that, and I'll bring, because these things that Anthony outlined, and Mr. Saleh to respond to that the president or the government is doing, he's not alone. Mr. Sharif talked about the ousting of Supreme Court Justice Kabina Janet, who was impeached by the Senate. First, it started with the representative, and these were predominantly Unity Party members. Unity Party senators were in the majority. So the president is all the way in the back, right? So what was done to him, we could say President Weah is behind it, but what we clearly saw were members of the group he's aligning with now, the Unity Party, who threw him out. So even with the use or the misuse of the resources and all these things that EU outlined, they are other party to these things. Mr. We tend to blame just maybe the government, but if people do not assist, this thing's not going to happen.
But Dr. Ducle, real quick, just a few seconds. Dr. Ducle talks about the brown envelope. The president was behind this, and from what we heard, these people were bribed. So he bought them. They were bought, and they allowed themselves to be bought. Exactly. So if I am Cabinet Janet, then these people need to be exposed. They need to be called out for who they are. So you cannot be bought in this manner. So you're absolutely right about that. It was the people, the majority of them were opposition supporters who did that. And so they acquiesced.
But I think that they all lost their position now. They all gone.
Yeah, most of them didn't get re-elected.
I think that happened, but definitely was Weah's agenda. I mean, there was no secret about it. I remember, long before you got to that point, I remember the first time I talked to John Stewart from the Observer about it. This boy, what's his name? The former representative, CDC, District 10, Akaris Gray.
Yeah,
had called him and said, he had an issue. Yeah, that he knew something about Cabinet Janet that is going to lead to his impeachment, and that was the land issue. That Cabinet had bought land from some family and then appropriated it, and then they called the lady. They called the lady to the court, and then the lady said, "But what are you talking about? The man paid the land in 2000 something, and he told me to stay there. So what is the problem?" They said, "Okay." They left that. That was the first issue that Caris Gray raised with the Observer. Then I told him, I said, "This is an impeachment thing." I told John Stewart, I said, "Leave it, because this is an impeachment issue." He said, "Well, we're going to talk." So he went and interviewed the lady, and she said, "No, Cabinet paid for the land and told me to stay here till I'm, tired, till my children come back." And that she was staying there. So they left that, and then they move on to something else. So definitely it wasn't an agenda of the citizen to remove Cabinet Janet. There was no he can like about it. But the people who voted to get him out took the little the envelopes, and now they all have the job. So he doesn't even have to go after them.
The question about the legislature, though, is equally a problematic area of governance in the country.
Right.
Maybe we will see a new legislature, the 55th legislature. I think this will be. Maybe there will be now the new shining a North Star to look to, right? But it has always been about themselves. It's always been we come to you, we give you rice, we give you this, we build a bridge, or we build a hand pump and so on. We buy t-shirts for you, we buy your votes, we get there, we enrich ourselves. So in need, Dr. Ducle, did you?
I don't think though. Yeah, I was going to say, the legislature corruption, I think our government, the Unity Party government, play a big role in that.
Right, yeah.
I think that was a big problem we had. And I think if I were to look back, I would say, yes, that's where, Ellen dropped the ball at some point, she focused so much on passing things, getting things through. Mm-hmm. She didn't look at the consequence of buying votes to get them done.
Right. Yeah, you're right about that, Dr. Ducle. She established a really bad precedent where her legislative agenda, she basically purchased them. She purchased people's signature or people's, affirmation of them that they're signing and approving, whether it's budget, whether it's some piece of legislation, whether it's some institutional creation, even the new Ministry of Finance, Development, Planning, it should just be Ministry of Finance, and then you have Ministry of Planning, all of these different realignment, institutional realignment that the legislature should be in partnership with the executive. A lot of it, President Sirleaf had to bribe individual legislators. As a result, the legislature became the most lucrative place to work, and everybody, any young person you met who was a shining star or up and coming and potential, they wanted to become a lawmaker. I'm running to be representative. I'm running for the Senate for that very reason, because people became very rich overnight. As a result, they weren't really governing for the sake of governing. They weren't lawmaking for the sake of lawmaking. They weren't doing the oversight function, the representation function properly. A lot of them barely went to the districts, back to the districts. When it was agricultural break, they would take money and travel and go to foreign countries, especially those that came from the very southeast, where it's very inaccessible during the rainy season. And so, yes, a lot of this really started under President Sirleaf as well, and it transitioned way into President Weah's
President Sirleaf and Vice President Boakai, include him.
Well, yeah, that administration, he was vice president, right? And Vice President Boakai, yes. Sirleaf Boakai administration.
At this time, I want to announce that if you want to join the conversation, call 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. And I mean, talking about, I want us to talk about the legislature a little bit before we break on our colors here. That is, again, we're going to have possibly a CDC House of Representatives and perhaps the Senate. So the pro tem, the speaker, and things like that will all be CDC, even if that's a Boakai government, for instance. But before we get to that, I want to play you something that we all saw at the beginning of the Weah government. And let's see how it's going to be different this time. Oh, come on. You got to play.
I am a mother party. I am a mother party. I am a mother party. Both away, both away, both away. Hoorah, 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 hoorah. I am a joy, yeah, yeah. I am a joy, yeah. I am a joy, yeah.
6 years went by so fast.
Well, there would have been nothing wrong with that, Dennis, except for the misgovernance.
No, but we didn't transition, right?
You say that?
That's what happened when you throw the sheets away.
Yeah, you throw the briefing notes and transition notes away, and but I mean, they argue that the president is accessible, is open. He's the people's president. He's the people's president. He plays soccer in the street. He goes to the football field and plays with his guys, his cabinet members. He's out there in the market. People can walk up to him. People can talk to him. We've never seen this before. This is that's why he's the pro-poor president. That was really their mantra. That was kind of what they said. To me, that wouldn't have been anything wrong with that. Had they really assembled a very competent, inclusive government that was doing the job, that was serving the people and really providing that leadership. But if you're not doing well, people will see you as playing around. You're in the studio playing music, you're dancing, you're doing all of these things, you're dancing buka, and you're going so I think the problem was the performance piece of it. But if he had been a president who really performed optimally and people loved him, that wouldn't have been a problem. The narrative would have been different.
I think we looking at the symptoms, all those, they're not the root cause. The root cause of that behavior is that they never took Liberia very, very seriously. Because if you know it's your household, your children have to eat. Now, unless you're unserious men, you will go out and work and make sure your children can eat. But if you're not taking care of your home, they don't see you. That is the root of the problem. It's not that they didn't have able-bodied Liberians willing to help, but that was not their focus. Their focus was just the emoluments of the job, but not the work. There's a lot of work, and this is what I look at this, and that's why I'm looking at this new administration, because I know Walker knows how he's been through work before, even though it might have been a long time, but he knows the standards. What is he going to do? Who are you going to bring on now? Will they assume that same hard work posture? Will they be ethical? Or will we see, or when they face corruption, which is going to be there, it's going to be smack in the middle of all their operations. When they meet up with the giant, will they buckle and submit, or will they actually challenge the corruption giant that's in the middle? That is what we're willing to see.
Thank you. And Mr. C, speak a little bit briefly about the kind of legislature we hope to see in case this was Wakai government. And how would that pose a problem? Will we see a repeat of the brown envelopes, the quote-unquote lobbying we're talking about? Especially if this is CDC House, CDC president is the speaker, and so on. And our callers, please give me 2 minutes, and then your calls start coming. Go ahead, Mr. C.
And then is the brown envelope thing now is the norm of the legislature. That is how you get things done. Very unfortunately, these are people who did everything to pay themselves so well that a monthly salary, including allowances, can sustain they and their family for about 2 months. And yet, to carry on their duties, to pass this legislation, to ratify an agreement, they want to be giving extra money. That has been the culture. Dr. Dukley, I'm glad that he came clean on it, that he holds the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration responsible. Ellen had no reason whatsoever. We had just come from war, but she felt that was the way, she needed to proceed. And now the legislators there, that's the reason why people even go into the legislature, for that money. So I don't see how it can be curtailed. If Ellen could not stop it, can Waka stop it? Is he this popular person? If and when he's elected now, let me make that clarification. I want to wait for the night before I can speak, as though he's elected president, right? Waka ever to do it? George Weah was a popular president elected. He could say no, he didn't do it. But let's look at the composition of the new legislature coming in, right? Now we have 25 representatives elected on the city side. The Unity Party elected 15 representatives. And then so all over CDC is going to have majority. And now CDC, the CPP won about 6 seats. So now that they are in a coalition, I don't know if it's a coalition, right? Then we gave the CDC majority in the House of Representatives and also in the Senate. This is the culture of the CDC. Now that's how they've done business. I don't see how it's that. But then I'm not expecting anything new from this new legislature, because the thing is that they have their individual interests, and some are very corrupt. Even those who want to do the right thing, if they can't find their way. Dillon is an example, Dennis. This guy came, he was the light, but we saw the guy signing for checks, receiving kickback. He and Prince Johnson received the same amount, $25,000, just to ratify, I think it was the stimulus package. Liberians were told to stay indoors. Those they elected to ratify that particular agreement for the people to get a state of going to rise and all that, they took money. This is the length they can go. So I don't trust any of them. None of them, including those who just got elected.
I could just, Walker would not have that problem because he got no money, and there'll be no money left when he comes in.
Ellen had no money. She was not using her own money. Don't do that. Where is
No,
now
no,
you
no,
see
no. She was using
of the
money that was
government.
there. No, no, no. I know. I know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that all those laws, every change that she tried to, let's say, influence through the brown envelope and stuff, was done mostly through concessional agreements
Right.
that she wanted to pass at some point. And those people came with money. And I don't think Boubacar is sitting down now and waiting for 10, 15 concession agreements to come to him and say, oh, you're new president, so we run into you and give you money. I mean, it's a rotten system that we have. And I think he can put a stop to it because he does not have the majority in the House. He could say, okay, I don't have any money. I don't have any brown envelope. Let people vote for themselves and see what happens. If CDC is leading the House and the Senate, well, he will have to govern with them. That's not strange. I mean, that's where you show his capacity to govern, not to run away from it.
And that's
But
the culture, right? Because people end up buying these people. I remember when the Ellen government, CDC was in the majority. Within months, they all flip over because they bought them. So if Waka becomes president, he can do the same, right? Even though now we have a CDC majority, they can win them over through money. And so, Sharif, I want you to comment on this, and then we'll bring in our first caller.
Look, Dennis, if I will have to go down the list of new senators, maybe I'm biased, but one of the newer senators who will be consistent, who loves the country, is your former schoolmate, Amara Kane. I believe him. I believe that he will be very principle minded. I mean, there are others who maybe, but they're not very many. They're not very many. So people, when people sit out there and if people are for sale, you're for rent, you're a senator, and you can just be bought. I mean, that is demeaning, to the country. That is not a good picture for Liberia. But Dennis, what happened, after the revolution, the April 12th coup d'etat, when people said that, this was about rampant corruption. We're going to wipe out rampant corruption. Did corruption ever go? Did it ever go away? It did not. It just replicated into new forms. Metastasized over years and years and years. And we are where we are now because, the root causes of these problems have never been addressed. It's all about, new people coming in, and it's going to be the same old policy, the same old way. So I don't have much confidence in a lot of, the new people who've taken office. First of all, when you look at the terms that these people sit there, look at the senators, they sit there for 9 years. You're there for 9 years. I mean, what do you expect these people to do? They're going to come in the first 2 years. Nothing's going to be done. Nothing gets done. So I don't have, much confidence. And this is why sometimes I put my egg in the leadership, the presidency. So the president has to drive the agenda. The president have to drive the reform. If the legislature won't do it, maybe a president, maybe. I'm just I'm just so despondent. I'm just saying maybe now,
Thank you. Thank you. Abitala is saying, let's have some cautious optimism.
I want to agree with her. If you mind, Ja, I want to agree with her because
I want the callers are waiting. So let's do that. And let me
how you agree with her. You just agree with me. Now you're going to agree with her again?
I didn't agree with you. Wait. Let me just say something briefly. I talked about there's this 600-pound gorilla in the room, which is corruption, and they're going to have to deal with that. And according to them, it's one thing when you're not in the driver's seat and you say, "Man, why are you driving like that?" But when you get in the driver's seat, let's see your solutions. And I'm positive about this because I've heard from certain corners that Boubacar is a very strict a man when it comes to these things. But we're going to see now because not only must he be strict, but he has to straighten others out, and that requires effort. So I'm looking at it to say we want to.
I agree that we need to be careful, but now you're going down again.
Mm.
Right. And Jimmy, you quoted, you said, oh, when you come in the driver's seat. Some people say that's the word, that's what Liberians people use for corruption. So they say, hey, you can play with oil without oil leaving on your fingers. So when people start giving those kind of parables, it's dangerous. But let's leave it at that. Let me bring in our first
But
caller
we
here.
can get rid of corruption.
Uh-huh. Flomo Livingstone.
Wow, good. Great show today. Great analysis. I have to disagree with Anthony C on Jalan Dillon.
Okay.
No, this time it's Jalan Dillon. I have to disagree with him on that. Jalan Dillon is one of the good senators in our following, and he brought on most of the things that most of us know about the Senate today, including the pay to get and all that stuff. We understand he's a human being, made mistake, and he came back and apologized. We should, that's why we should be expecting for our leaders, not the one who will steal and then lie, don't come out and say the truth. For me, I respect Darren Jordan for that, and I'll continue to give him praise for what he's doing in the Senate. But when it comes to the election, I can tell you that the election is over, because from Bon County alone, well, the first round, George Weah won them over 10,800 plus votes. But this time around, he won by 7,000 plus votes. Even in Grand Bassa. So George Weah lost more votes than the first round in his stronghold. But Joseph Imambaga gained more votes, especially in Monserrato, from 3,000 votes first round to over 22,000 votes in the second round. That's a gain in Bomi. So for me, the last resident, 13% or 14% left, is all over. JMP is the next president elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me bring on Mr. Aliyu Kamara.
Yes, sir, Dennis. You know what? When I was laying here in my recliner, I'm really feeling bad because you don't have Caribou on here tonight. It's a little brush, which I call it when I saw Ismail on, but I expected Caribou and Ismail to come on at the same time, Yeah, we would have been much enjoyable. But now that the election is over, I think we're best friends again. So no more problem now. The election can bring the worst out of people. But I'm sitting in the driver's seat, so I can be the first to extend my hand, for reconciliation. Anthony C, the political bulldog. And let me say hi to these guys in the. My brother Ahmed has been very, very good. Trying to put some sense in some people's head.
You got 20 seconds more because you start talking about that.
No, because I complimented Ahmed, so I get 20 seconds more. Look, Anthony, you talk about you haven't seen leadership in Joe Biden. It's clear that it doesn't matter what anybody says, you're not going to see leadership. You're not seeing him put people together. We put the largest alliance together in the history of Liberian election. The largest alliance. Yes.
What is that alliance?
Do you know how many political parties from the DL? Okay, he has he has NDR. All of these people, most of the boys who had left the country to go overseas, he brought them back. And you still say, from everything you are looking at, you still say he's unable to govern that. I don't know what to tell you, Anthony. But let me just say this, and you said during the saga of Mr. Councilor Janet, the Unity Party had the largest amount or the highest amount of senators. Can you tell us how many senators were there for the Unity Party? Are you saying the opposition or are you saying the Unity Party?
No, you said the opposition.
Opposition.
Okay. Yeah, make that correction because Unity Party wasn't there. But let me say this. Look, Dennis. Hello. It's been a great show tonight. I've been listening. You guys should give Dr. Duke the chance to speak. See, Dr. Duke is one of them guys who is good on paper. And sometimes you speak with certain parables, you have to take your time to get it. Dr. Duke was not saying just because somebody got 50% of the vote, that means they're leader. That's not what he was saying. He said many other things.
Dr. Duke, yeah. You want to explain more than him?
Yeah, no. No, but Dr. do say a lot of things that you got erased and went straight for the 50% thing and use that to give you took him until you got quiet about it. And you can't treat him like that. But anyway, look, listen, a great show, wonderful show. Please, Friday, if I'm coming on, I really want Kelabo on.
Okay.
Right? I think meet Kelabo face to face on the show.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dr. Barton Kula?
Dr. Barton Kula calling from Atlanta, Georgia. I want to speak to three things. One, what Dr. Duke was saying. If you listen to it in context, like Ahmed Salif said, you would understand what he was saying. He wasn't saying just because you get 50%, so that makes you a great leader. George Weah came in with huge political capital. He won every single county except one, Lofat County. Here's the man that came in with that huge political capital is struggling to make it to the second round. He gets to the second round, he's struggling. Right now they think about all kinds of evil ways to steal these elections, but it won't happen. It's over. He needs to find a way for soft landing and just ease on out of Liberia. He's made a mess of that country. It's a shame. Second thing, the difference between competent people who know how to put systems together is what we saw when, I'm sorry, but when Darius Dillon came out with those things in a bag, he made a lot of people lose confidence in them. It showed that they were bluffing. But look at that compared to what your man Amran Kone did. Systems, showing you where the data came from, showing you the data sheet in correspondence with what documentation or what numbers they had. And then the third thing and final thing I will say is this. What our school systems need to teach is how to think critically. The CDC people are going around saying, because George Weah, the old man was leading Georgia at the beginning, and Georgia can't pass by him if he won. And so that the same thing he would do. First of all, if you really look at it, George Weah lost as an incumbent president. He actually lost the first round because if you only have 43%, but the whole opposition, all of them combined, 18 people divided the votes, and still the opposition got 57% of the votes. That's a shame. So you think now you got 100% divided by two people, you're going to get the same thing that happened in the first round when other people have joined the old man? It doesn't work that way. Math and statistics, you got to think in a critical way. And y'all see what will happen come tomorrow or Friday the latest. God bless you.
Dr. Kula, it sounds like you are celebrating.
I'm happy.
Oh,
look,
okay.
The boys made our country look a mess.
Right.
A mess. I went to Washington, D.C.
Is it Dr. Kula who penned that letter in Weah's favor when Weah won?
Thank you, Dad.
Our country down to its knees. They destroy all the institutions.
Thank you, Dad.
Shame us, man.
Thank you.
Destroy the country.
Thank you. Let me
build the country back up. Bring it back to respectable level.
First time I heard him call.
Thank you. Let me bring on our last caller here. That's Hassan Kone. Hassan, you're live.
Yeah, and Dennis, thank you for taking my call. So basically, Joseph Walker is not a leader. Joseph Walker is being used as a Trojan horse by so many different political actors to get to power. So that's what's happening. So when Dr. Duke said,
so that's not Trojan horse then.
No. But he's the face. People are using his face to get into power. So that's what he is. Okay. So he's a Trojan horse, right? So that's what it is. So when Dr. Duke say, people are gravitating to him or whatever it is and stuff like that, it's for them to use him so they can get the power. That's why President Johnson picked his vice president. He didn't pick Kuhn. President Johnson picked Kuhn, right? So as far as his leadership thing, people talking about he lacks leadership, right?
So that's a collaborative style.
But it's not collaborative. It's not collaborative to President Johnson coming up and telling you, I'm taking so that when Guaga is old and he's deteriorating health, right? Then my guy can take over. So that's not that's not leadership, right? So we shouldn't try to because all the people that came to him and stuff like that, we know why they're behind. It's because of his age, and we know that if something goes wrong, right? Prince Johnson becomes the de facto president in our country. So that's the risk. So the person we should be giving thanks to in this election is Prince Joseph. Prince Joseph have actually won the election. So Blanca is just the state.
Thank you.
That's all I call to let you guys know and stuff like that. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you. And by the way, Prince Johnson has become the new third man. He has 27 years as senator. Let me break. We have two of our regular callers call, so I'm obliged to, to take them. Darling and Evan Morris. Let's start with Darling Warwood. Darling, your life.
Yeah. So while it is true that runoff is over and we have a clear victory inside, we know who won the election based on the tallies from the UP war room. I'm more worried about the days ahead. I know a lot of people are celebrating. Brother Ahmed, Brother Salim, and all the people in the studio that are celebrating. I'm more worried. Like I was worried when we had won this day in 2018.
What?
So now I'm worried again as to what type of corruption we are going to see in Liberia. Because these individuals that are coming on board are not new to the Liberian political scene. These are old hands who have been jobless for the last 6 years. And these are people who cannot survive outside of government. They are like fish. When you take me out of the water, they die. So I'm more worried for Liberia and Liberians. I'm more worried about the economy. Because we are getting another group of vampires.
What do we do now?
Well, campaigning time over. With that was too long time.
Yeah, those are the options we had.
The campaign
for 12 years, he signed into law the Sixth Book of Concession Agreement. Waka presided over the Senate that saw his salary rose from
no, he did not sign a single one.
$10,000.
There you go.
So I'm more worried as opposed to others who are dancing and singing Hosanna, Hosanna, free at last, thank God we are free at last. I'm worried.
Thank you. Thank you,
I have to say tonight.
Thank you. Maybe Almeda Imana, maybe we'll say a prayer for you.
Yeah. I need to say a prayer for him because the Liberian people had two options before them. Their two Liberian sons, and they had to pick between the two, and they pick somebody who clearly has experience in leading, has been, in institutions and part of institutions. Yes, if you're a vice president, you're part of an administration, but I think we should wait and see. It matters who you put in your cabinet.
Thank you. Evans Morris will be our last caller. Go ahead, sir.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. John. And hello to everybody on the panel. Look, what a great time to be alive, If tomorrow they announce Joseph Boyka as the winner, wonderful. It's always great to be in the opposition. It gives you a lot to criticize or a lot to talk about. And if it's in fact the case where President we did not win this election, I'll tell him kudos. You have accomplished a lot. You have become president, probably become president. Take all of your trappings or enjoy the rest of your life. You'll not be living on alone. The chair will not be suffering. You'll be well placed. And then put the mess in Joseph Boyka's hands, in the United Party hands. Let them fix it. They're crying and complaining that they're able to fix it. Allow them to fix it. So I'm excited. Tomorrow will be the final results when they come through. I want the Ahmed Salih, Mohammed Salih, Dr. Duke, to be here 2-3 years from now. And the country is really in a deeper mess. To say it with a chest, to keep that smile on their face. So not coward and say, oh, we hope for better. We thought you were going to do better. So let's wait and see. Once it's official, opposition always have a lot to talk about. We'll be on the church platform criticizing to the skies, just how they've been criticizing President Weah. But I'll be glad and I'll be expecting President Weah to concede if he loses. And I think that will be a monumental day in our country to see power passing from an incumbent, to a president-elect. I wish to see that if it's in fact the case, as the trend is, tending to go towards Boyka. But let us not forget, President Weah has done some good things in his first term. and we must, applaud him for that. Certainly, he had a lot of shortcomings. And those of us who even support him will also, point out those shortcomings. Overall, kudos to you, President Weah, as it seems right now. You may not get in the second term, but kudos to you. But thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, sir.
What a beautiful speech.
Yeah, one of the first time Elvis is so objective.
Elvis, beautiful speech. I love it.
It sounds like eulogy or what?
Yeah, I think it sounds
concession.
Like concession.
He might well deliver the concession speech for George Weah. They can call him now.
Yeah, we are planning a show where we're going to do a mock victory speech.
Somebody say we are celebrating. Nobody's celebrating. I think we're too smart for that. But we just know where the numbers are going. Yeah, we're not.
Exactly. We're not celebrating. I'm not here celebrating. We're looking at the numbers. We're looking at what happened. We're analyzing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Douglas, you want to respond to our
celebration? It's there's no secret that
There's a comment from my friend and former schoolmate George Sadie. I want you to put on the screen. I think it speaks to some of what we were talking about the legislature here, the political culture. He's basically saying opposition is immaterial to say in the legislature, these are in the opposition, and it's not an opposition that will be there to counterbalance the ruling party. The culture, according to George, and this is true, we all know, is that the opposition politicians in the legislature, they collect the brown envelopes, they go with the ruling party, eventually they kind of merge into them. And I agree with that.
Oh, okay.
And I'm sure Booker will have the speaker he wants if he wins the elections.
Say that again, Dr. Dukley, your voice was cutting.
I think he said.
I said, I'm sure Booker will have the speaker he wants.
Oh. Yeah. Even if Unity Party is not in the majority. How is he going to do that?
Yeah. Just what George said. That's how the president can get the speaker they want.
At this time, I'm pleased to announce time for the session, your Tabata of the week. Mr. Sharif, let's start with you.
Yeah, I'm glad you started with me because, so Henry Costa, right? So we all see now that Amara, so he's the talk of the town, the talk of the country, all around the world, this and that for this, Situation Room, the big board, right? So what do you find on the other side? So who the CDC unleash to do theirs? Henry Costa. Henry Costa is standing somewhere with a group of guys and they're trying to replicate. It doesn't even sound right. This is a man who called George Weah a pig, a four-legged animal, and he's standing in front of some kind of board. I mean, it doesn't look right. So if the CDC, with all the resources, with all of what they have, if they couldn't come up with anything, and that's the best they could come up with, that is absolute nonsense, and that's what they're losing. That is my Tabata of the week.
Thank you. Jimmy?
Yeah, my Tabata of the week. Well, after all is said and done, Liberian people still are at each other's throat. You would think that we were on the same team and we're aiming for the best of the republic, but it appears that we're not. And until we learn that we are on the same team aiming for the same thing, we will have many challenges ahead. That's my own Tabata.
Mr. Salif?
I don't know. I don't have except that both sides are celebrating, even when the numbers, it's just this celebration. Some of the video clips we're seeing, people there dancing, they're singing religious songs, and and clearly these are people who are supposed to understand numbers. Wow, and the trend just seems to be going in a certain direction, and yet they're saying, well, when it comes time to cry, please just know that it's okay to cry, but you'll start crying soon. So I think, I mean, that's not complete nonsense, but I think you ought to be a little more savvy than that.
Thank you. Mr. C.
Dennis Mantabata is the chairman of CDC, writing a letter to the United States Embassy, addressing the ambassador to investigate the election coordinating committee chairperson, one Councilor Blow. So this man has his party as the ruling government, and there's a justice minister. There is a justice system in Liberia, and he's not going to his own government and responsible for investigation. He said that he has no idea that the government that he's running has a justice arm. He runs to U.S. Embassy and pens a letter and asking the American to investigate somebody who is in his government. I mean, who asked a foreign government to come and investigate? I mean, does he even know the function of the government he's running? And now he missed the whole thing. This person he was made to believe he saw, for which he penned that letter, was actually not Councilor Block. So he was instructed to retract that letter and apologize. And so he had to write a letter apologizing. This man cannot see his own justice minister or justice ministry running to the American. That is the biggest avatar I've ever seen in my lifetime.
And the Americans reply by issuing a statement supporting the guy he complained and supporting the election process.
Wow.
Dr. Duke. Dr. Duke, your Tabata of the week.
Dr. Duke, if you don't have Tabata, I can give you one. I can help you. You can talk about it.
The whole remarkable. Okay, go ahead.
Dr. Duke, I'll put it on the screen and you can talk about it if you
go
think
ahead,
it's a
I'm
Tabata.
listening.
All right. Yes, your Tabata. Talk about it, Dr. Duke. It's coming.
Okay, go ahead.
No, you talk about it. Can you recognize that?
Oh,
that is the statue of George Weah. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
See that?
Yeah, the statue of George Weah. People say, I saw that. I remember when he came up 4 or 5 years ago, and people say, how stupid. I say, it looks stupid to you, but for the people, when they say we carry on our back, that's they mean literally. So they put him on their back. So that's what I mean.
But can I ask the panel something?
Hold on, we are on Tabata. Let's get through that first. Dr. Duke, so this one from Flomo Livingston said Matabata is CDC say they have the tallies, but we can see it.
They don't have one.
Oh wow.
They spend their money Joshua, people say we carry you, they carry you, so they carry you, but I don't know. This is one of those things that you wish you don't do when you're president. There's another thing you say, hey, you know what? Don't put me in a state. I'm just getting president. First year in presidency, somebody. Those are the things that George Weah did that he seems not to have an understanding of governance, like building 27 condos when 2 weeks after become president. You don't do that, even if you have the money. It's weird. It's like you don't think about it. It doesn't make sense. Or never traveling in private, in commercial, when airline for 12 years with all the embrace she had from the international community, people sending her airplane, she still bought tickets to travel commercial. Everybody else in economy with her. But it means insisted, and that's the money that government is going to have to pay, because this was done on a deal that Jeffrey has had from the beginning. All these bills are coming up.
My own Tabata is similar to Anthony. Is Mo Ali accusing the ECOWAS of being bribed 150,000. They told him no. He has to. The Unity Party now has to come back 10 days later and say we are sorry. I mean, if political party leaders are talking like this, to me, that's the biggest Tabata of the week. Mr. C, are you talking to us? All right.
No, Dennis, somebody had called me. Go ahead.
Right.
So my question, Dennis, do we not see a possibility for WEA to come back?
No, we can do that because WEA has not lost yet. We don't know that.
Okay.
Or if we preface it that in case WEA loses, do we see him becoming another Trump to come back and really? So that's is it possible that WEA loses this election to come back 2029 and be a formidable force?
That's a possibility.
Dennis,
yes.
Dennis, let me be the first to go.
Look, I mean, I'll ask the question though.
Do you want me to continue? Yeah, Dennis, the CDC is a grassroots party.
Oh, no, okay, I'm going. No.
I think
you're breaking up, Doc. We can't hear you.
Yeah, that's a delay.
Dr. Do, if I may, the CDC, if and only if the CDC should lose the election, of course, WEA will be around, and I will not be surprised if the CDC will come back again with WEA. He is the only one they have. They saw him and they knew they had a chance because of his popularity and name recognition in the country. It worked for them. When it comes to winning, it worked. And it can work again. Look, assuming Mr. Bwaka becomes the winner of this election, it will be a difficult government to run. The current administration has done so much damage, and they will need all the time to get things into motion before they can start delivering the goods. Now, raising revenue in Liberia right now, I'm not an economist, but the complaints that I hear from people in Liberia, it's obvious that they're not raising significant revenue. And then we look at the budget shortfalls that we had. The Unity Party government of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was the best of the Unity Party. I don't have any confidence in the Unity Party headed by Bwaka if they get to government that will perform better than the Unity Party of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. She's a star. She has connection. She has a global name recognition that in itself will attract people. But Bwaka is a cold-cat politically. He has no connections, and connections are necessary. All right? To make things happen. That is not Bwaka. That's who he is. That's the fact. So one of the callers said that he is so worried. I am more worried than that caller. Now you see a Prince Johnson standing there. You have Jeremiah Kuhn right there. Why, if something happens to Bwaka, can you imagine the chaos that we have on our hands? I'm just thinking about Samuel Doe when he became president. Later on, what happened? This is our new Samuel Doe that is coming. Jeremiah Kuhn. He has no experience when it comes to governance. He's not connected. He will be a novice. He will be pulled by Prince Johnson. So, look, this is not looking good. Liberia is falling even in a more deeper place than we can even imagine. It does not look good.
Yeah, so when WEA comes back, is it going to be formidable?
You're making the CDC
WEA can come back. WEA will be formidable. We have might even
Can I go back to this?
We always stand a chance to win. And why we have to win is that this government, if Waka is elected, right?
I think
it will be a difficult government that will not have tremendous success. The people will get impatient, and the CDC will be able to cover. And if anybody that can make you to look ugly, any political party that can make a ruling government to look ugly, the CDC has that, and they will do it.
They got a master's degree.
They do. They
Dr.
make
Douglas,
noise.
you can come on now.
Go ahead, Dr. Douglas.
Okay, yeah, I can. Please, I think the when you sit here and say, okay, Buckeye cannot put a government together one term, or Buckeye cannot do this. Buckeye cannot do that. He can. This is the young lady who's. I've never heard people be so pessimistic about a government coming in, and you don't know who's going to be in the governance position. You don't know who's going to be minister of this. You don't know who's going to run what agency. You don't know what kind of coalition governmental works George Weah. Because in principle, that's what you said. I mean, we can all be partisan, but come on, this man has not been in office yet, and you say he can't do it. No, I'm not asking you to retract. This is your opinion.
This is your
because
we saw the campaign.
opinion. But I'm just saying, let's be candid about political.
Yeah, I kind of want to agree with. I want to tell you guys something. What I have.
You have never seen the man in a governance position. You always see him.
There are a lot of well-educated guys over there. Know them personally, very well educated. But how they would bring them together as a unit to bring, that is what we're going to see. That's where the leadership coming on. But they have the expertise. It's not that they don't. But how they would govern them that's what we're willing to see.
And people also have concerns about polarization. Those that are on the ground, the party
and I want to come back to Dr. Do. Let's let it finish now.
Yeah, I was saying
you delayed, Doc. That's what happened.
Yeah. If Mr. Parker is inclined to invite Liberians from the diaspora, we see that they brought John Molu already, right? So assuming they will tap some talents from overseas as well. There's always that tension between diaspora returnees coming to serve and those on the ground, those who have been there, particularly in the Unity Party partisans who see themselves as the stalwarts, see themselves as the original, they lay claims to, any opportunity to serve the country. Then anybody who was in there wasn't running around the country and running things. Now you come to contribute. So that I've been hearing talks about if they can hold together and there's not tension and that doesn't create any kind of diffusion of sort. So to Jimmy, to your point, yeah, there are people, they're very well educated, competent people, technicians have started assembling. The question is, again, that good to great Jim Collins analogy I like to use all the time, right? Which passengers will you put on the bus, and which seat will you put the passengers on? What are the premium seats for whom? That's where the question lies.
So next week by then we'll have an administration, and we're going to actually look into that and dig our teeth into what the administration will look like. Dr. Duke, you want to say something else? We can go to our closing. Tomorrow, join us right here at 8 p.m. for Friday night debate. At that time, we're going to have probably the final result, and people from different partisan background going to debate the issues. You don't want to miss that. Gentlemen, thank you so much for tonight. Always, if there's anywhere else I want to be, we'll be right here on Tough Talking Thursday. I enjoy this stuff really, and you can imagine since I started doing this, my health has improved, and I love talking about Liberia.
That's
I want to
good.
go around the room now to get your closing comment. Let me start with Mr. Eastman.
Okay, so we're wrapping up now. It looks like we're about to usher in a new era. And for me, always like to look at the glass half full. There's a lot of potential for Liberia to get to the next level. It's going to require expertise. It's going to require us getting back together and a very, very serious mindset. The leadership is so important to us because it sets a trend. That is why people look for the leader, because the leader can set a trend. So we're positive that there's an opportunity here for the next whoever becomes president to set a positive trend that Liberians can see themselves at a middle income in the next 10 to 15 years. That is what we're looking forward to, and our prayers are there.
Thank you. Mr. Sharif?
Yeah, so when I look at George Weah, one thing that comes to my mind is
why are you looking
what
at
a
George
miss.
Weah? I thought you say he's done.
What a missed opportunity! But here's my thought: what a missed opportunity. So what a missed opportunity! You come in with a healthy majority, and as a young man, relatively young man, and you lose all this opportunity. So tomorrow, Dennis, what you're going to see is, and what you're beginning to see now, because this conversation, I don't care how you look at it, this conversation has largely, what has dominated this conversation now is we're talking after George Weah. So George Weah now, in a way, a lot of us may not admit it, but its political obituary now has been written. And so what you're going to see tomorrow is an affirmation of some of the things that I have talked about, some of the predictions that I have made. A very small margin. Nonetheless, Weah gets defeated and he goes away for now from the Liberian political scene. My thing is, give him a graceful exit for now. Deference to the office of the presidency. This is hard. It's going to be hard for him. It's going to be hard for his family. It's going to be hard for his collaborators. But that's politics. That's what it is. And so our hope now is that the new Liberia will be a lot different from the last 6 years. And I'm confident that things will be different. Things will be different from what it is now. But I'll tell you what, if it's not different, we will be here again. We will talk about those things. And we will continue to, look at things as they are and be critical when we should be, if need be. So, that is it. And I'm all the callers and people are saying don't celebrate. I am exuberant. I'm not going to hide that fact. I am celebrating. I am exuberant that, the nation is about to turn the page.
Thank you. Batam Kula, still continue with Tabata. My Tabata is CDC claiming to win by 51%, but where are they going to pull it from? Edwin Paul, my Tabata is when Weah wins tomorrow and people start to blame foul play. Darling Warwood, my Tabata of the week is Henry Costa claiming victory without a single tally sheet. Dr. Duke, your closing, sir.
Well, I think we could say we could tell congratulations to Liberian people for a peaceful process, kind of with all the problems. I think it went well. We could say on the average, looking at what could have happened, we could say we put when you talk about campaign financing. These are things that not even the U.S. can account for campaign financing. You're going to ask that to Liberian to come to talk about campaign financing. But I think we did it. I think Liberian people stood up. People understood what their vote meant to them, and they voted. And then people, stood and said, "We want to protect our ballots," and they did. And I think the election commission did. And I hope that tomorrow we get the final results. And some people are still saying we could come back and win, like Donald Trump. After 11:59, he thought he was going to win, and then at 1 o'clock, he lost the election. But these are not the same kind of numbers. So I think I'll go with Mohammed's Sharif on this. Say, yes, you could be exuberant. There was something in, I worked with George Weah. I was one of the first to go to his inaugural speech. I can say that now. And I had a contract that did not depend on the government, but I decided to stay. I stayed from January till April. And then I looked around, I said, no, these guys are not serious. It's going to take them a long time to be serious for governance. I didn't have to get paid. I was not sitting for salary, but I stayed in office for there. I said, you know what? And I didn't see any change after that. I didn't see change, in terms of governance, in terms of, taking country seriously. And the last thing to me was president going to spend 47 days to watch the World Cup in a foreign country with tens of people around him. I'm just saying, people don't do that when you run a country. You may say, what do you want? Joshua, yeah, he's a good guy. He loves football. We love him for that. I've known him. I've known him since 1991, 92, 93. I've known him since then. And he and I will live on the same floor for a few years in Morovia. So I know the guy, but he's not the president we want because he's not wired that way. He's a good guy. He's a simple. He wants to help Liberia. He wants to do everything, but he's not wired that way. He can't sit and have a political discussion with you. I'm sorry. People who think that he's that great, yes. He brought something that Liberia had lost for 10 years. Nobody talked about Liberia except war crimes, except George Weah was the shining star. We all love that. But he's not president. And CDC has not been able to put together a government of responsible people. So we shouldn't hide that to ourselves and sit down and lie and say, CDC this. No, it's not.
Thank you.
CDC is not.
Mr. Sear, you're closing, sir.
Dennis, thank you. And I want to say a big thanks to the panelists and those who stay with us throughout this broadcast to listen to what we have to share. A big congratulations to Liberians, especially those in Liberia who participated in this election that just ending. They were peaceful. I'm so sorry that there were instances of violence, some of which that led to the death of few Liberians. Given where we're coming from, a single Liberian should not have to lose his or her life because of a politician. These guys are not serious. They are jokers. They don't mean well for our country. They have no ideas. If you think about the campaign, then I was here yelling on Unity Party, where's your website? Where's your plan? It took them over 2 years before they would come up with a website. It was almost like 3 months to the election before Unity Party could come up with a website with all the well-educated people, some of whom can set me down and teach me. They could not come up with a website. All right. And that's a party now we sit serious because somebody is trying to provide leadership and they're crunching some numbers. It is an excellent thing. I hail it. I hope other political parties will pick it up. Let's use it going forward. If there's anything positive we've learned from this whole campaign, that is one of that. And I think I give it to Amara and the team that work with him. We should continue that. Then it's a sad thing in our country. Someone said, oh, at least DeLong is doing well. This guy lied about a plane ticket. This is a senator lying about a plane ticket. This is a senator who goes live in session. He does not have leadership in him to know that there are young Liberians who have the desire to be journalists. He's going live on a cell phone in session. The legislature that he's part of, it has a legislative press. He can't tell them to do that. He can't talk to a colleague to empower the young people to do that. He has to go live so he can be seen. That's the kind of leadership Dillon is providing, and people are around here hailing him, right? So when I see people healing these things, I'm like, really? Are we ever going to get somewhere? Are we ever going to get somewhere? But hey, tomorrow is the final of the final. We will know whether we'll have a new president or the one who has been so bad for the country going to stay. And because of that, I'm taking tomorrow off because I'm curious to know who's going to be our president tomorrow. And tomorrow is also Friday night debate, and I'll be here with debate the issue. Comrade Salih, thanks. Comrade Sherry, thank you. Jimin, Dr. Duke, Dennis, I think it was a great discussion tonight. You are muted, sir.
That's what we do here, always focus on Liberia. Mr. Salih, you're closing, sir.
Thank you, everybody. So it looks like from all indications, we are going for a reset because of the numbers we're seeing. And, you know, electoral campaign are about win numbers. Win numbers, your path to victory is about what is your win number. And so when people are making projections, it's based on that path to victory and that win number calculation. And we've calculated the win number on both sides. So here people giving an analysis in a certain way, that is why. Because we know our country, we know the counties, we know the electoral districts, we know the number of registered voters is very easy to do. That's kind of what you saw Amara doing. So it looks like from all indications, the trend we've seen, the numbers that have been tallied and reported so far, we are going for a reset. And that reset, there are critical days ahead of us. First, whether somebody will concede, whether somebody will accept the results, whether somebody will be gracious enough and provide larger leadership than themselves, and provide leadership to the rank and file on both sides, whatever it may be, so that the peace of the country is paramount, is above everything, so that we can accept whoever wins, and move forward. And when I said earlier in the beginning of the broadcast that if it ends up being a President Boakai, he has some unifying of the country to do. It does not necessarily mean, Jimmy, there's war, right? We came from war a long time ago. I understand that. But the country is very polarized. We saw it in the campaigns. We saw it during this electoral cycle. When you see that, people are bitter. People are very hateful of one another. The campaign was very vitriolic. We saw it. And so in order to govern, as they say, you campaign in prose and you govern in poetry, right? So in order to govern in poetry, you really are going to governize all of the citizens and bring people together, assure people, inspire them, make them recognize and grant that legitimacy that you are the president. You are the president for all Liberians, for all the citizens of the country, not just for one region of the country. That's the kind of leadership for unifying and unification we're looking for. We're looking for soon to be president, whoever it is, whether it's re-elected we are or an elected President Boakai, to unify the country and form a government that reflects the shades and stripes and colors of Liberia. That's what we're looking forward to. People that can really truly come for the sake of public service, not for the sake of self-aggrandizement, self-enrichment, and self-benefits. Those are trappings and largesse of powers and authority. They will come naturally. You don't have to take it for yourself, but seek out to better this place we all call home, so that we really can be proud of. We think that we're capable of doing that. But to get there is these next 3 days between now and Monday are very critical for the peace of the country. I urge all to remain calm and be peaceful. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you. On that note, I want to say thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time tonight. Always focus on Liberia. And as Christmas and Thanksgiving come, don't forget to say thank you and share with us a little that you have that will go a long way in expanding our operation in Liberia. Our cash app and Zelle numbers are on the screen. Until then, we close with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Whether you are Guillaume, Crew, or Gribble, we are all Liberians. Whether you support UP or CDC, we are all Liberians. What is incumbent upon all of us is to do our very best to make our country the glorious land of liberty. Have a good night and God bless you.
We are Liberians.